Hello, and my name is Cory Endrulat. Today, we're going to talk about strategies for a nature-based running campaign. That would, of course, be in the realm of politics. This is also Notes for Libertarians, and this is dedicated toward the Libertarian Party. So let's get started. Perhaps you are someone who wants to bring change to your local communities and a ripple effect to the world. Or perhaps you are someone from the Libertarian Party and you want to understand a completely outside the box, however practical, and more natural approach to the political scene. Whatever it may be, as long as your heart is in the right place and you have an open heart, and therefore an open mind, the following strategies may come of use. For where it stands, the Libertarian Party, although different in principle, is often similar in approach to that of the other parties, yet gets little say in matter concerning what some people would only call the two-party system. The Libertarian Party, although with a network of millions across the nation and politics, often still has also the same dependencies to that of the two-party system, which we will further explore as we move on. I made this in particular for this party due to their seemingly close yet open relationship with that of liberty in seeking to attain it. The following strategies have never been spoken of before in the realm of politics, however, in order to constitute more than just a usual running campaign impact. Getting started here, the first strategy here is that of understanding the need of dropping money in the case of truly standing for liberty. Although this may seem unpractical or nonsensical at first, when you consider the simple mere impact of people rather than money, you may see such statement differently. The idea is to, instead of gathering money, this network gathers people, both that they already have and more that they may easily seek. By easily seek, I refer to having crowds upon public gatherings, where all the money consumed is essentially spiritual currency, that of time and attention, where individuals can join into this crowd and at least see the presence of such demonstration. Shall the individuals within this crowd, may it be the Libertarian Party members and others, have a unique flag to show, it will spark an unseen or questionable dialogue among not only other party members, but the local media, communities, and everyone about such representation as demonstration. There shall be appeal for higher-ups in this network to drop money and simply gather the numbers necessary for this great work to manifest. They should be able to do this rather easily with the gathering of different statewide clubs upon perhaps the capital areas of each state. There of course shall be reason as to this, however, and that brings us to our next points, in necessary connection for the real totally possible change never seen before. It must be noted that in a world and time-place setting which has great deception and manipulation about, otherwise deemed as denaturing elements, the reason to drop money for liberty grows increasingly evident, just as you shall not expend freedom for security. Rather than the numbers of money, it is the numbers of people that is actually required for any change to manifest. The Libertarian Network provides the perfect foundation to set this into motion. It's with simply the use of numbers of people shall they choose to drop money out of the picture for true liberty and follow these strategies. The second point and strategy to make is that when it comes to introducing all these new strategies to the parties and communities about, it is not simply seminars or presentations that will do the trick among this matter. In fact, such should always be the optional look into for individuals on their own behalf. They may easily come across such on the internet, like that of the seminars and documentaries I have done available for viewing anytime and anywhere for free, and by way of optional helpful resource. For real impact, however, involving awakening the masses and those beholden by darkness, we would rather need mass get-together events wherein there is speaking or speeches on public streets or in any public gathering spaces, where anybody is able to join, again free from the influence of the religion of money, or as we will soon discuss, even political affiliation. Such also details the fact that there is no need for protest, as such will not be a living example of being the change, it rather stands as begging for change. Therefore, the next question comes, now after addressing the network and its use of resources, what will we speak of and what ideas will we present to the world through these differentiating gatherings? So the third highly effective strategy is that of speaking about universal objective truths found in nature. Such would include the occult or purposefully hidden knowledge of the natural law, and understanding our human rights given by such laws of nature. These, by the very nature of their workings, help teach us objective differences in right and wrong, therefore helping us understand morality, as well as understanding common sense or conscience upon understanding the consequences to our behavior. The most extensive teacher upon this subject is the individual Mark Passio, who has devoted his life works to the matter and actively demonstrates how little money one may have for their high investment in truth that goes suppressed or censored despite the powerful voice and information being presented. Another individual who speaks upon this universal matter, however, without mentioning natural law necessarily, is Larkin Rose. Despite these two individuals, it comes down to understanding of what we all share and what is here and always has been. Without this firm grounding in both universal and objective basis, we often scramble divided among one another, and our terms of equality and right to this or that remains undetermined by any underlying basis. We must not only know our rights, but where our rights come from. The natural law, otherwise known as the law, is here for such reason. These span past nationwide boundaries, and they have always existed and will always exist. We can accept anyone to believe what they want to believe. However, the problem comes when they impose their will upon another. The problem comes when their beliefs don't align with that of objective inherent morality in nature. Individuals who believe they can be God in a sense or determine such moral and immoral behavior themselves are then falling to what is called moral relativism, a tenet of Satanism, again perfect for a lack of grounding. Spreading universal and objective understandings based in nature, which we all share, helps not only unify, but also provide an undisputable, less divided ground for clearer directions in the path for humanity to move forward toward the freedom we desire. For it is aspects such as freedom that are specifically defined by way of the law, and if we don't understand the law, or we do understand it and are not sharing it, yet we want freedom for the world, we will not accomplish liberty. Regardless of many things, including speaking of symptoms or acting upon symptoms, speaking upon the universal does no harm and helps us target the root cause to the problems present in the world, for it speaks upon truth, which is being defined as objective, meaning that it is not based on the perception of human beings, which is capable of wavering. It is simply that which is. This is truth. That of which has occurred in the past, and that of which is occurring in the present. For a general sense of understanding upon natural law, as again one great universal application toward appeal and rooted change, its working definition is that of being universal, non-man-made, binding and immutable conditions that govern the consequences of behavior. Natural law is a body of universal spiritual laws which act as the governing dynamics of consciousness. If we observe the Libertarian Party's statement of principles, we can make more distinct and grounded understandings when applying the natural law and providing more universal and objective basis. That brings us to point 4, which is to reevaluate this statement of principles for the Libertarian Party and seek to bring a universal and inherently moral, expansive perspective based in nature, regardless if it's of the Libertarian Party or not, to which shall simply demonstrate to all human beings. In any case, we shall not get caught in semantics or wordplay. In fact, helping reevaluate the statements made can help us clear confusion or unclear messages within. The Libertarian Party statement of principles are as follows. We, the members of the Libertarian Party, challenge the cult of the omnipotent state and defend the rights of the individual. We hold that all individuals have the right to exercise sole dominion over their own lives and have the right to live in whatever manner they choose, so long as they do not forcibly interfere with the equal right of others to live in whatever manner they choose. Governments throughout history have regularly operated on the opposite principle, that the state has the right to dispose of the lives of individuals and the fruits of their labor. Even within the United States, all political parties other than our own grant to government the right to regulate the lives of individuals and seize their fruits of their labor without their consent. We, on the contrary, deny the right of any government to do these things and hold that where governments exist, they must not violate the rights of any individual, namely, number 1, the right to life. Accordingly, we support the prohibition of the initiation of physical force against others. Number 2, the right to liberty of speech and action. Accordingly, we oppose all attempts by government to abridge the freedom of speech and press, as well as government censorship of any form. And number 3, the right to property. Accordingly, we oppose all government interference with private property, such as confiscation, nationalization, and eminent domain, and support the prohibition of robbery, trespass, fraud, and misrepresentation. Since governments, when instituted, must not violate individual rights, we oppose all interference by government in the areas of voluntary and contractual relations among individuals. People should not be forced to sacrifice their lives and property for the benefit of others. They should be left free by government to deal with one another as free traders. In the resultant economic system, the only one compatible with the protection of individual rights is the free market. End quote. In re-evaluation to simply apply the presented statements in the context of natural law, the human cause for freedom statement of principles are as follows, and this example was made for perspective. We, the people of Earth, coming together in a system we call the Libertarian Party to simply demonstrate our desire for freedom, challenge the slavery of government by way of education about statism under natural law, and in order to understand the rights of individuals to whom each shall be defended. Natural law is defined as universal, non-man-made, binding, and immutable conditions that govern the consequences of behavior, a body of universal spiritual laws which act as the governing dynamics of consciousness. We hold in defense of natural law that all individuals have the right to exercise sovereignty of natural law's positive expression, otherwise known as an internal monarchy, to have control over their own lives and live in whatever manner they choose, as through freedom, or external anarchy, which means no rulers, so long as they do not commit immoral acts upon others, including natural law transgressions, all of which are forms of theft. Immoral acts are those of which result in harm to other sentient beings, or their property, or that of which is in opposition to natural law. Any action that does not cause such harm is a right. Natural law always holds true regardless of a population's belief systems. This means that it does not matter how many people agree that a wrong can be turned into a right, or vice versa. Every individual has the same exact rights. No one has any more or less rights than anyone else. Also, since rights are not created by humanity, and since they are the birthright of humanity, gifted to us by nature, no human being or group of human beings is actually capable of granting rights to anyone else, nor is any human being capable of revoking rights from anyone else. Governments, by their very nature, and as demonstrated by history, rely on natural law's negative expression, immoral behavior, man's law, and upon the dependency of statism, therefore the legitimization of masters and slaves. Statism is a religion to which it is of individuals who erroneously believe that there is such a thing as authority vested in certain human beings, magically giving them the right to rule over other people. This authority means that certain people, who we call government, have the moral right to issue commands to those whom they rule, those under their jurisdiction, and that their subjects or slaves have a moral obligation to obey the arbitrary dictates or laws set by their masters. Most simply put, an individual who is partaking in statism is someone who believes in the legitimacy of slavery by its nature. Even within the area of land on earth we call the United States, all political parties, including that of the Libertarian Party that does not abide to natural law, allows individuals calling themselves government the submissive, through that threat of violence, right to rule and control individuals and commit natural law transgressions without ever having the inherent and moral right to do so. We, on the contrary, deny the right of all government to exist, which is why we educate the public about the nature of government and hold that where statism exists, government exists, and therefore slavery exists. None shall violate the rights of others. Such constitutes the mass understanding of education of natural law and its transgressions. Life, rights, and freedom are all forms of property that belong with human beings. Force through way of the self-defense principle and the non-aggression principle constitute moral behavior because they are not violating others' rights, and therefore they are actions which one always possesses the right to take. Violence, which the threat thereof takes place in government and enforcing man's law, creates compliance out of fear. It is the immoral initiation of physical power to coerce, compel, or restrain, action which one never possesses the right to take. All government existence and therefore interference is in opposition to this understanding. A voluntary, coexistent, and optimally peaceful and free world is based on the understanding of natural law and its positive expression. Such understanding gives way to knowing morality, our own rights, common sense, and our own actions, such as statism, without any need of external dependence, such as elections and government, due to its irrelevant and unnecessary nature. People should not be slaves, and no person has the right to be a master of slaves. all shall be free from government to live their lives in peace and of their own responsibility, with the guidance, courage, and conversation of all one another to help set this into motion for all. Point in strategy 5 is to not promote a candidate for office, and to rather promote a generational and universal worldly corresponding idea for the world, starting perhaps with here, wherever this campaign begins. This idea may be nature is the answer, as to correspond with what can be changed for good. If a person must be behind these ideas for time need be on certain legal or political forms, be sure to orient all else around the ideas and advertising the ideas directly, not the person ever, although they may be a speaker of these ideas, however prominent. A true leader shall follow the Tao Te Ching, as is reflective for the way of nature, and refuse ego, seeking consensus and not difference. The ideas within the ideas may be the specific actions we take to make the world a better place. Simple things such as starting community gardens or having communities being able to protect one another, to all that is of the multiplicative expression acts for natural law's positive expression. The Libertarian Party has long relied on being of the traditional party system where votes are cast upon certain individuals to run for office. This is, however, counterintuitive to that of freedom or external anarchy, as we have already defined by natural law. In order to take a truly new approach to make more impact, the campaign must consider taking singular people out of the equation. If we are to be the change we wish to see in the world and increase worldly self-responsibility, we shall live and promote such ideas directly and practically. The best way to do this is by spreading the very ideas rather than the individuals who hold the ideas, for that is what should matter more to worldly peoples anyways. It has also long been said that small people talk about other people, average people talk about events, and great people talk about ideas. It is the people who deliver ideas, therefore the deliverance, if it's through way of education, not dependence. It is what will create a sustaining change, asking of no money, only the elimination of statism. Many quotes and influential people who have become more of guides, that includes real leaders who refuse to rule over others or contribute to statism, have talked about this relationship between education and freedom. Thus, we must bring ourselves to point in strategy 6, which is to understand the root cause to all the manifested evil on this earth, being statism and natural law's negative expression, contributing to what is known as the one true divide between those of statism and those who refuse to partake in acts of statism. Such details the one great work. It is to educate the mass populace about statism and natural law, essentially to help individuals in the realization that, in supporting and condoning the legitimacy of authority in government or man's law, that they have actually been supporting and condoning the legitimacy of slavery, and that they were immoral for having done so, and to abandon such limits or religions by definition nature, the false and dogmatic beliefs which hold back the progress of consciousness by impeding the reception of truth and natural law. And so consciousness is the ability of a being to recognize patterns and meaning with respect to events taking place both within oneself and in the realm in which the self exists and operates. Point in strategy 7 is the amplification of education and conversation to turn a political party, such as the Libertarian Party, into a movement. All the successful attempts to change the system that be were not mere regular political parties, but rather became unique idea-leading movements. This brings us to point in strategy 8, which is for individuals both of the movement and the world, to which they shall be a part of directly, to understand the better world there is ever present and there can be, if we fulfill the requirements to the desires we have of the better world for all. This world would be of voluntary coexistence, and so to be the change, none are above another, and we are all to help out one another, especially to the better world we all want to live in. With action steps all to our own free will choice, we are all fellow messengers on the same journey of life, just with different experiences and awareness. Reason shall be made for appeal and understanding the universal concepts to then bring about unity for a coordinated direction of change. This is integration and promotion for nature, for disintegration and demotion from man's artificial creation. Natural law and aspects thereof may be of the integration and promotion, whereas statism and aspects thereof may be of the disintegration and demotion. This brings us to point in strategy 9, which is the run with the regular political process while refusing to accept winning, although seeking to be of the running, then utilizing many different strategies to run as such is and was detailed. Part of appeal is not outcasting oneself too much, however enough to create a natural transition. You may be reflective for that winning is never truly winning, as all must be the change and no dependence shall ever take place. It is winning to simply get the ideas out there and the mass public educated, as this should be the end goal and result, the conversation for critical thinking and common sense. This is detailed for the Nature's the Answer movement's own share sheet, meant to be the foundation for what comes thereof. This movement also details the transition through both a general six-step speculation and a reflective individual six-step speculation, both dependent on representation, which is advertising or looking at or face value, and conversation, which is evidence of advertising, look into, or human nature value, to which representation of the ideas and actions is also dependent on conversation, creating demonstration, to which is what joining as sharing Nature's the Answer is at most. Point in strategy 10 is to eliminate the fictional time constraints we place upon ourselves, rather to embrace the spiritual currencies, time and attention, to that of upholding an idea past any set election or campaign race times. In other words, advertisements and merchandise, or any representative material for that matter, are able to remain year after year forever as long as human beings choose for themselves. Instead of limited time volunteering efforts for external dependency change that you see political parties and elections promoting, we can all volunteer our efforts for voluntarism as a whole and in providing education about natural law or universal truths through a number of methodologies. Instead of propagating statism and proposing new forms of statism, therein lives the root-tackling idea of eliminating statism via adding in or integrating universal education and ideas. This is essentially adding in to crowd out. Nature's the Answer is an idea itself that also helps represent many other ideas, including that of natural law, natural health, and natural rights, all of great interest to those who understand and apply these due to the reason of inherent connections we as human beings have to our natural world, and as we move into manifested evil statism worlds that rely on denaturing and being denatured. It shall be, if anything, a generational message as mission for the world to understand the truths that are ever present. Shall we not want to repeat history and contribute to mass amounts of harm done through way of statism as democide? Point in strategy 11 is to be of the no party, especially now as it seeks to be of a movement and not simply a third party. If anything, it is the universal party, however simply the gathering of human beings, knowing true freedom will come from mass public understanding of morality and not electing anyone into office, as it is detailed in the law of freedom, where, quote, freedom and morality are directly proportional, end quote, and, quote, as morality increases, freedom increases, end quote, and as, quote, morality declines, freedom declines, end quote. Shall this be the goal of the Libertarian Party, they must be willing to stand for a new grounding, such as Nature's the Answer, understand the other points and strategies mentioned, and truly stand for the truth at the end of the day, nothing else. With this law understood, the presence of truth and morality in the lives of the people of any given society is inversely proportional to the presence of tyranny and slavery in that society. True freedom can never exist in a society that embraces moral relativism, the idea that there is no inherent and objective difference between right and wrong, so humanity may arbitrarily create or decide right or wrong for themselves. To get rid of the system that has failed individuals for so long, individuals must be inspired to be the change and stop letting others rule over their lives and make it worse, leading to democide and mass amounts of harm and natural law transgressions being done annually. Point in strategy 12 is to focus on bringing the voice of this movement into every stage of conversation, every level of the pyramid system, and part of all the debates. Leading guides can very well be vocal and gather enough public demand, even with simply the gathering of the Libertarian Network members, as referred to strategy 1, to become part of the two-party system debates in introducing these never-spoken universal ideas and providing education about statism. Other methodologies include getting into the local media or mainstream media scene and speaking of the ideas, how necessary they are, and how more and more individuals are growing in understanding how necessary they are, with nature's laws speaking evidently of this itself, as it is also called the law of cause and effect, the golden rule, the law of attraction, moral law, and God's law. People must be given faith to escape their dependence and bondage, as also detailed from the Tytler cycle, where on the world scale, selfishness would never manifest until the later evil stages of the cycle if the ego isn't fed into by way of statism for need of masters and therefore need of slaves. The universal concepts may also be connected and applied almost anywhere, and even with conversations often speaking about the symptoms from the world. A guide as messenger may help fill the voids and connect many dots that would go otherwise undone to where masses among these conversations can see roots that otherwise wouldn't have been spotted. Point in strategy 13 is to have a distinct flag, such as that of which has been proposed by Nature's the Answer, to be completely neutral yet relatable and meaningful. This helps amplify voices and bring awareness to the cause of a movement occurring. Symbols should not be pushed in individuals' faces. It is to show that masses are on board with something for the rest of the masses to see. A movement should be human-inspiring and motivating, providing great energy to the realm of politics, perhaps even fun indifference that you would never expect to see in politics. To provide more impact, therefore unique strategies shall be made to make all the most human-like, transparent, honest, and fun for the change that is very possible. We can make history with an actually grassroots cause of no money, only the spiritual currency of time and attention in all people themselves. There is no better way to bring knowledge as power to the people where it belongs. Utilizing modern techniques such as the internet, more is even possible. However, the focus shall be on real-life change and getting out there, especially for initial stages, then leading into the unity for more coordinated action. Nature's the Answer provides many resources about statism and natural law as is. Therefore, the simple representation going out and about in the world will help educate more people about it within itself. Point in strategy 14 is for all individuals being encouraged to show their own sign with and as the movement. From the original logos and flag of the movement, much may come thereafter to help individuals add their own personal touch for the sake of their own investment and connection. It should be stressed that all individuals make up the movement, and the site of the movement as a whole, in its materials, like Nature's the Answer's share sheet, exists for all individuals to increase education efforts. The website and general materials meant to spark dialogue can be considered unifying factors to be kept plain and simple, as they are generally universal for the sake of a grounding foundation upon the movement. Point in strategy 15, for it's the summary strategy, individuals shall utilize all their networks of any kind as a means for unity in gathering unknowns and peoples of all party affiliations for a universal, truly grassroots movement. In actuality, there is no debate for the better world we are to live in, since such is of the intended world of humans and nature that we've been detached from, distracted about, and deterred to debate upon. Hence why universal concepts such as the natural law and objective morality, that is in relation is considered occult knowledge, purposefully kept away. The true debate rather lives in the actions that help bring us there, to that intended world of nature. This is also often kept away, for it is one to know of the solution, and another to know of how to bring about the solution, therefore with another solution that is of need in knowing. Nature's the Answer does not seek to replace nor criticize any party of any matter. It rather seeks to help individuals, no matter where, no matter when, the universal concepts that are here to help us move in the desired direction we all seek, which is often freedom, always in some form. It is of no end, it is a forever journey. However, the optimal world is that of which statism does not take place and no evil can manifest on great scales. Individuals within the Libertarian Party are free to join Nature's the Answer by way of representation, shall they care to promote universal truth. I, as someone who represents Nature's the Answer, am willing to converse with the Libertarian Party to help reach the world with greater impact in the cause for truth and freedom if they care to listen and understand the points and strategies I have laid out here. All that was laid out here is already being done within Nature's the Answer, and this cannot be seen anywhere else, otherwise I wouldn't have created it. However, Strategy 9 does not apply, and all the strategy's impact is greatly reduced or delayed unless the Libertarian Party can seek change through way of Nature's the Answer in indirect integrative collaboration to amplify all these strategies, points, and ideas simply with its network usage, referring to Strategy 15. Again, this was made in particular for the Libertarian Party, and shall they consider these words, they can make an impact like never seen before on this planet toward inherent universal objective truth, truly in making a force of nature, fighting for nature. The message is the mission: pro-humanity, pro-truth, pro-freedom, non-violence, the one unifying counter-agenda, reduce harm, generational change, nature's the answer. I'm Cory Endrulat. Thank you for watching.